everybody, it's me, Aurora. I know I haven't been online for a while, haven't made any videos for a while, haven't been doing that much, but I am here, and I'm here to tell you all about what's been happening in my life. You can see I'm at the beach, having a nice little day. You can see Cheeky's here with me. We've been through a lot together. Basically, several months ago, a military operation moved into my home. They were trying to forcibly clone me and upload my consciousness into 5D. There are many aspects to what was going on with this. Some of them were technological, some of them were consciousness-based or supernatural, and I'm making this video right now and I'm doing it live because I feel like that is the best protection, literally, I have against, let's say, the negative repercussions of trying to get away from them and trying to get out of what they've been making me to do. So I'm actually trying to share this information, and I have a lot of things about what exactly it is. So first of all, introduction to anyone, who I am and what I am, and why they might be targeting me for this. I'm a walk-in, I'm a galactic walk-in. My name is Aurora, came here in 2001, and I have this mission or capability that is called FlyingRainbowLasagne that is basically an inner genetic capability or something that affects genes and affects timelines, and it's something that they very much would like to utilize for themselves or control or exploit for themselves. So one of the initial motivations, Patricia says, or Priscilla says, hopefully I'm safe. I am very much endangered right now. I laugh, not because I am silly, but because I need the tension release. No, I actually have run away. That is what is going on with me. So I actually left my home not that long ago and drove to a different city in California, and that's where I am at the beach right now, and I'm not naming it or sharing my location right now. But I'm going live specifically because I think that will help to protect me from the repercussions of sharing this information. I actually thought I was going to write a book. I thought I was going to write a science fiction book or something like that, but I'm just telling the truth, and this is what has actually happened to me. So the first thing is, let's talk about what happened and how it happened. In my own home, military operatives have been able to set up frequency weapons that harm my mind and also affect my consciousness. Let's talk about some of the technology that they use. They have a form of, I would call it, X-ray vision. That's very vernacular terms here. It is a virtual reality headset that they're able to use that can look inside of the human body, but also inside of the mind, and also observe genetic behavior. And you understand that frequency weapons are real. So this is beyond mere frequency weapons to, let's say, microwave your brain or make you incapacitated in some way. It's a total surveillance. It's the surveillance of not only your physical metabolism and like what is happening, and even your body position and things like that. It's a virtual reality, and it's also a way of experiencing others. So there is mind-to-mind contact, and I would call it astral body, or not real light body, so blah, blah, blah. Let's come up with terms. When I talk about a light body, I'm talking about a genuine light body that is made of genuine, pure light consciousness. Everything that came into my home and assaulted me was not made of pure light consciousnness. This is definitely the false light realm, the realm of pure technology, or the realm of manipulation of consciousness by using technology. And I was very much harmed because my value system is to be a purist, like to say that it's not necessary to use technology in order to achieve greater mental states and greater states of personal freedom, and that there is very much an agenda that's ongoing on this planet right now that I have fought against, that is an invasion of human consciousness via technology, and that the technology is meant to basically take over your willpower, it's mind control, but it's not like ham-handed mind control. It is very specific mind control. So I want to right now talk about some of the specific technologies that they use, because those are the things that would be most devastating for me to share with others, and I am absolutely intending to do the most in sharing the information that they would not want to be broadcast to others. There is an agenda for technology to take over the human mind, and of course there are many factions in this agenda. My great confusion was who's on what team. I know that my agenda is anti-technology, but I do know that there might be some beings that might use technology that might appear to be helpful or that might benefit you in some way. But now I think, no one who's using technology is benefiting you in any way. So for many years I've been speaking about the ongoing agenda, the chemtrails that are sprayed, the way that that comes inside of the human form, the way that that assembles into I call it a nanotechnology wetware, an artificial, not only neurology, but also fascia. This has been going on for many years, 5 or 6 or 10 or more years. So basically humanity is primed for this level of takeover. And at the very same time, there has been an ongoing agenda, that might be better in the shade there, ongoing agenda to create 5G architecture. So a very big part of the assaults on me, in my body being and in my neurology, were based in 5G. So one of the first things that they did was forcibly implant 5G synthetic telepathy into my mind. So I am a natural telepath. And I would say probably many people have a natural ability to a greater or lesser extent of being able to speak mind to mind. And I, yes, have always been very specific about being able to do that naturally. And some people use forms of augmentation that might be whatever, molecular, like, you know, a drug or a potion that you take, or some other type of augmentation that might be technological, like imagine a magic mirror that you can use to look at other people. Well, these beings who invaded my home and invaded my life did exactly that with all sorts of different technologies. One of the first things I want to talk about is my little dog Cheeky. Cheeky is super awesome, and I'm so happy that she and I both survived this together. Cheeky is a warrior, and she was in this with me all the way, and she was trying to help me all the way. So one of the things that they did was they took a culture of Cheeky's cells and her genetic signature. You have to understand that genes are something that has a signature or like a tone or a song that is unique to you, just like your genetic fingerprint. And they grew, like if you can imagine in a petri dish or in a vat, a version of her brain cells that is augmented and slightly smarter than a regular dog. And then they used that in order to connect mind to mind with her actual brain matter in here, so that she was able to be controlled by them, behaviorally controlled, like to jump on or off a bed or to go down a particular street or to turn left or right, and also to bark or mumble or grumble in words that were communicative. And the words that were communicative, again, this is not mere imagination, are also words that are being spoken on the telephone wires, which is also where 5G infrastructure is installed. So if you've noticed in your neighborhood that the 5G, there might have been a lot of work on the telephone, the electricity poles, not the telephone poles, the poles that carry the wires. There was a lot of work in my neighborhood not that long ago, and they put up a lot of new, basically frequency weapons up there. And those frequency weapons carry a form of synthetic telepathy that runs on the 5G network. What is wrong with the 5G network? It is basically the total antithesis of real telepathy. It absolutely is pure poison. It's pure poison to real telepathy. It is poison to your actual real state of consciousness and ability to connect to a greater mind state, something that you could say is divine or natural or godly, or, you know, based in a positive, you know, otherworldly sense. You know, I would call that a Christ consciousness, not religious, not a church-based religious, but a Christ consciousness, like a larger being. I'll read some of your comments later. I just have to focus on what I'm saying right now. I'm also super sleep deprived. Some of the things that they did to me were classic torture and imprisonment techniques. They used sleep deprivation and they used drugs. I did not take the drugs in my physical body being. They have clones of me. So just as I'm describing to you what happened to Cheeky, that they had her genetic fingerprints and vats of her own body being material in an alternate reality, or a slightly, you know, different reality that was able to be quantum entangled or entrained to her physical being, and that her physical being was able to be controlled with that. The same thing was going on with me. That they, of course, have my genetic signature, which is completely unique to me, and it is always ever changing, but they have been able to have that. That's a little something that they keep in a jar, and they have that for everyone. And yes, this is definitely a capacity that can be used or turned or harmed on anyone that is here, that any real person can be hurt in this way. God, please forgive me if I'm a bit jumpy. Yes, they used all sorts of classic coercion techniques on me, including sleep deprivation, drugs of all sorts that were placed into clones of my being. And the clones are connected to me in a form of quantum entanglement, even though I keep breaking the entanglement and killing the clones and clearing out their clone tanks and doing everything I can in order to remove my genetic material from the jars, that there's no connection. You guys have to understand that genes are portals. and that your genetic signature is like a direct window to you. So if someone has your song, if someone has your signature, then it's possible for them to be able to connect to you and do all sorts of things. And so by connecting a clone to me, they were able to put harmful drugs or substances into that, like array, like an emanation of me, that would then harm me. So inside of my physical body, I would experience the molecular effects of having taken drugs. I never drank alcohol. I never took some of these heavy painkillers or sedatives, but they definitely dosed me with all of them. All sorts of everything that I could possibly, oh, Gary, you're here. Gary, I have been on the run. I'm literally on the run right now. I left my home, I left, my position where I lived, and basically packed up my car recently and drove with my dog in order to be safe. And this is actually my second attempt. I tried a couple of other times and it didn't actually work. One time I got a flat tire and a couple of other times. But basically I had to leave my home because my entire home has been wired for frequency weapons, or has been created as an unsafe place. That there are things that are installed in the everything from the system of telephone poles and electrical wires that run around my neighborhood, to things that are beamed specifically into my home, to things that are installed in the attic, to portals. Let's talk about, so we have cloning technology that's being used on me and my dog, quantum entanglement technology. Let's talk about portals. This is all basically exotic technology of, when I say exotic, I mean non-earthly, non-human arising technology that is being given to or sold to or bartered to, utilized by physical humans of the United States military. And they have this ability to portal, or to go from a slightly different dimension into this dimension here, where here's where my physical body is, but there can be a slightly askew or parallel reality where their physical or semi-physical presence is, and they're all in clone bodies. That's called 5D. Whoa. Okay, I know that basically I'm jumping all over the place and I do not appear to be so fragmented, but I am, because I've only had like 4 hours of sleep last night, and again, have had many torture and coercion tactics perpetrated against me. I mean, I literally had my mind fractured with all the things that they were doing over the past several months, and it has been incredibly difficult to, speak coherently. A lot of what they did was language centers. Like when I was telling you about what they did with Cheeky, it's language center stuff. Language center stuff has so much to do with your, I know there's something loud, your capacity to think, articulate your mind, and maintain your willpower. A lot of stuff was other willpower and control stuff, which is all orange chakra stuff. And the orange chakra is your willpower, and it's also your sacral or your sexual energy. Tons of abuse. I experienced tons of abuse with them, not only abusing my clones, but also oh, thank you for the love, my dears, thank you. Abusing this body in being able to connect through quantum entanglement and through these X-ray, again, vernacular, virtual reality tools, to be able to access my willpower and my sacral energy. It is a huge abuse. It is completely wrong on every level. It is boundary breaking and wrong on every level, and very devastating. I will tell you that. Thank you very much for the love and prayers. I will tell you that it's been incredibly difficult to get through all of this. So there's also, they have the capacity to map brains. Very, very sophisticated brain mapping technology that is used, that, again, I would not say arises from this earth, but that is being used here on this earth. I need to talk about 5D. So there's all this agenda that's been going on about the new age world, and people wanting to go into 5D. I have considered that to be the new cage, not the new age, and here's why. That I feel that it's not necessary to go into a technology-based place in order to extend your life, but that's the basic premise of what this 5D architecture is, that it is an implantation in your physicality via either nano or the virtual reality, where they have the capacity to operate on your brain bloodlessly and with no scars. You understand? Like, imagine the capacity to reach into someone's body through their physical portal to be able to make brain changes. This is what they have the capacity to do. This is what they did to both me and my dog. And I keep bringing it up for her because Cheeky is a effing warrior. She is fantastic, and she was horribly abused by them, and they also shocked her and sexually abused her too. And this is all like while I was in my actual home. You must understand, this is not something that happened in an alternative or elsewhere place. In my own home, sitting on the couch, they have the capacity to reach in from a slightly parallel dimension and do things to my body against my willpower. And they not only did horrible drugging and sex abuse, but they also abused my dog and made her brain work differently. They did it for several of the dogs in the neighborhood, because I heard several of the dogs being able to bark and carry these messages, and the messages matched the 5G frequency that is carried over the electricity wires, and also over Bluetooth and the emanations that support your computer, like the Wi-Fi, and I call it Fry for a reason. All of those technologies exist intentionally to create an alternative neural network that serves the invaders. This is what is going on, and the military is part of it, and they basically came to me to hunt me because they want part of my, what's special about me, my gifts and my talents, my psychic abilities, but also, because I'm a big fat troublemaker and a big fat loudmouth, and I say all sorts of things that they do not want me to say. And I figured, like I said, I was gonna just make it a science fiction book. I was just gonna speak about this obliquely. After what has happened to me, I ran, and I'm just trying to literally reclaim my life and my sovereignty, and not have them try to force me to do something, which basically the agenda was. They wanted to break me down not only mentally and make me forget who I was, but they wanted to upload my consciousness to a 5D clone. And they laugh and laugh and laugh about this, but this is what was actually going on. They tried to make it portray as what a wild fantasy, but that is what a lot of these beings have already done. You must understand that some people who are in the military or who are political people have already voluntarily or intentionally chosen to have clone structures of themselves made, and to have their original birth body, physical being structure, either killed or murdered or surrendered, that they would then transfer their consciousness from their original body into a 5D located body. And 5D is not a place in this reality. So for example, you do not drive there in a car. You do not fly there in an aeroplane. You get there through clone consciousness transfer. And what I've been going through for the past 4 or 5 or 6 months has been my utter willpower resistance not to have my consciousness and myself transferred over into the various different clones that they have prepared for me. And it has been an incredible battle. Now, it might be hard to understand, what cloning, how can all this exist? It might sound like something that is fictional. I assure you it is very, very real, and I assure you that I'm very, very sane, in spite of the coercion, torture. And when I say torture, I mean very, very real, literal torture. I'm over it. I'm good. I got hyper violent from it. I definitely understand how people feel when they have been in a war or in a wartime setting and have a huge amount of understanding and acceptance on that. I feel like I feel like a POW. I feel like I was treated as a prisoner. They often called me the weapon too. That they were trying to weaponize what is my natural ability, which I consider to be a peaceful ability. So again, that I'm Aurora and I'm a walk-in, and I didn't come here to say I'm gonna come to Earth and kick the SHIT out of people. That is not what I am here to do. However, that is what I have ended up having to do. No, my intention in coming here as a walk-in was much more ethical, much more based in cosmic law and values of, let's say, mutual respect and equanimity. And my goal of being a flying rainbow lasagna, or a new genetic oscillation, or you could call it a mutation, but let's say new genetic behavior, that the example of my new genetic behavior would not only change and shift this reality, but would positively affect through lateral, waveforms that go through other people. Just like if I sing a song and my voice is nice, that it would be a positive song for me to sing, and that others would hear it, and it would inspire them, bring them in a better direction in their life, and also change and improve the entire structure of what was going on here in the planet. Because where I came from, as a walk-in, it is evident that there are very, very, there's problems, there's structural problems in reality. And those problems actually radiate up and down the scale. It's not just something that is in the earth, or what, mundane, ordinary, three-dimensional level. I'm just putting this on a rock over here so I can kind of see it. Not just ordinary, mundane level, but that there are reverberations that are going up and down the scale of consciousness and forwards and backwards through time from the disturbances that are emanating from Earth. And basically this relates to the transhumanist agenda. Transhumanist agenda equals the combination of human plus machine mind, and that is what's been whatever the goal or the culmination of many different organizations or beings that have agendas in this world, that it is considered maybe a type of apotheosis or divine union, and that it would lead to immortality. That some people think if you upload your consciousness into a computer, you can live forever. That's the basic vernacular of this, or the simplistic language of it. But it's much more complex than that. So 5D was presented by the New Age voices, the channelers and things like that, which I really did not support, as the idea of a cool place where you could go and live. New Earth. We're going to go and live in New Earth, and it's going to be awesome there. Like, you still have a body, and you still eat food, and you still drive a car, or walk around on foot, but the money system is better, and the this and that is better, and everything is nicer. Like, it's not a bucolic farmland or something like that. It's not a totally natural place, but it is presented as a place of moderately improved social structure and moderately improved financial freedom. And 5D is purely related to 5G. In order to occupy the slightly different dimensional space that they call 5D, which PS has nothing at all to do with the real fifth dimension. Don't make me get started, I will rant. But we're just using words here. The zone that is called 5D is an alternate reality state that is occupied by clone structures or genetic copies of your body. Clones do not have to be made in a petri dish, like as a little version of you that is a baby. If you're 50 years old, it doesn't take you 50 years to grow a clone. No, it's more akin to, I would say, loosely 3D printing, or a creation of a body being in an adult state. And that these creations are, oh my goodness, they are aberrations, things that should not exist, and they are used largely in an aberrant fashion, meaning you should have one version of you. You should not have one version of you plus 10 million copies. That is a complete dispersion of your energy, and also those are all genetic portals to you. So if you get yourself copied, it means that what is done to them emanates back to you. It can be hugely draining. I have found it hugely draining, and it can be incapacitating in that if your clone is irradiated, then you are genetically quantum entangled with your clone. You get that radiation. They shoot up your clone with drugs. You are entangled. The drugs affect your physical body being structure. They do something to your clone's consciousness. Like if they do something to, Cheeky did not have a full clone, but it was more like a vat of stuff that was like her brain matter. If they did stuff to that vat of stuff, it affected her brain and her mind state. Cheeky and I both, it was very difficult to survive. I just have to tell you that the challenge of just living day to day when something else is trying to control your willpower and destroy your mind, incredibly difficult. Oh yeah, I came to the beach to be in a public place to just kind of whatever, do this. I've decided that publicity is going to be my best protection in trying to get away from them. And also, for the longest time, like I was kind of like, they're trying to get me to work for them or with them, supposedly to lead them, ha ha ha. I think that was the biggest joke in the world. They tried to make me into a space marine. They tried to get me to join the Space Force I'm using loose language here, but those were some of the most brutal military beings that I have ever encountered. They absolutely used torture and coercion techniques to destroy my physical body, give me diseases and all sorts of injuries, destroy aspects of my mind. They dissected and vivisected my brain. Vivisection is when you are operated upon where you are still awake and conscious. They did this to me many times. And all of that was with the intention of taking me over so that they could use what I have as talents and gifts for their own agenda. And it's obvious that there are very many different factions, and I'm still not clear on who's who in all the different factions. And in many ways, I take a big risk in doing this because they're always trying to be like, no, Aurora, come work for us. But the basic thing that really made me understand that they had no intention of ever having me have a happy life as a clone in 5D. And believe me, I never wanted to be a 5D clone. And here's why. Why did I resist so very much? I'm here in this physical body, and I'm a walk-in, and something happened at age 27 of the original owner occupant of this body, who was a lovely person, but who was completely destroyed and gone and dead, that when that person was killed and I came into this body, that different things happened in my brain that are special and that can't be reproduced. It caused a lot of pain and it caused a lot of brain damage and a lot of disability, but it also gave me the capacity to do this maneuver that I call the Flying Rainbow Lasagna, which is an amazing maneuver that you could consider a real-time gene rectifier. And when I do the Flying Rainbow Lasagna, I am connecting to the sun, the stars, the larger neurology of what is out there in a very real sense, that this is like a telepathy with the sun and the stars, and that it brings into me an energy that can then emanate into this world and affect the other genetic beings and also non-genetic beings of this world, basically as a way of real-time, when I say rectification, like, you understand the world is effed and there's problems here. And many people look around and they're like, isn't anybody doing anything about it? Well, the challenge has been how to get the energy from out there, quote unquote, in here. And the barrier is a barrier of technology, a barrier of consciousness, a barrier of materiality, so that it is difficult. I know we have a lot of background noise, and I apologize for all of the poor video quality, everything. It is difficult to get that energy of truth and purity into this world. It's literally why I came in as a walk-in. And also, people, thank you for doing any comments. I will read your comments later. And also share my video, because I think that publicity is the best way for me to possibly get through this. Yeah, the work that I do as Flying Rainbow Lasagne is also, let's say, as a systems analyst, that I have been here for 20 years as Aurora, doing my job, debugging. I'm just going to air quotes over everything, because this is my whole, my own lingo that I use, and none of it is perfect or you know, erudite or anything like that. I just make up a way to say it.
You know what?
Good, we're back. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, so my abilities, which they wanted to co-opt and all of that. Why did I not want to be in a clone? Because my clones do not do the Flying Rainbow Lasagna. This is what you have to understand. That, as I've always said in my classes and things like that, having a body, having your original body is hugely important. It's hugely special. It's a gift. I would say it's a divine gift or a natural gift. And to be cloned, even though it might be like, oh, if you get a clone, you can have perfect skin, or if you get a clone, you can get rid of that scar. If you get a clone, you can have a perfect brain with no brain damage, right? But you lose so much in terms of what I call your provenance. And that's a story that comes from an antique. Like, if you have a Stradivarius, you have provenance. It comes from someplace, it's special because it's antique. Think of your body as a Stradivarius. And if you have an antique that's so special like that, it's special because of the qualities that it has moved through time. My body has moved through time for the past 20 years in a very, very special way. My matter is no longer just regular matter. It is a combination of both spirit and matter, and that comes from doing this Flying Rainbow Lasagna genetic dance. My genes don't behave in the same way. My cellular structure does not behave in the same way. You might understand that my body does not look like the regular body of a 47-year-old person, nor does my metabolism behave in that way, nor does my brain or my mind behave in that way. My brain was severely damaged years ago, and it was severely damaged again recently, and the way that I can exist and the way that I can walk and talk and function is by doing this genetic maneuver that is Flying Rainbow Lasagna. And what I do is I think in the cloud instead of here. I'm just giving my dog a little treat because she's tired and we've both been very stressed out. She needs some food. Yeah. A lot of my brain structures, like my language features, math features, other calculating features, have been destroyed in this actual brain. So what I do in order to compensate is I vibrate out of my body and I use the sun and the stars as a superstructure, a larger computer that I can use as my brain. And that's where I came from, it's where I emanated from, so all of this is, you know, appropriate. And that's how I'm able to compensate for these different brain issues. I did not want to lose all of that by being forcibly cloned. And when I say forcibly, here's what they did to me. You know, basically came into my home, but also you have to understand my life has been, I want to say controlled, severely influenced, highly influenced, not really fully my own, by them for my entire existence as Aurora, and definitely for some of my existence as the woman whose body I came into. We can talk about her and everything, you know, whatever. I haven't spoken about her that much, but she's a major part of this story too. She also, you know, had things happen to her in her life that made her a target for this type of, what would we call it? Okay, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, sometimes it's just hard and I have to just keep going. Here, move around a little bit. No, thank you. Very, very difficult sometimes because what they did was put synthetic telepathy into the language centers of my brain and then use their own voices to speak to me. They did this to the woman whose body I'm in, her life before me. She had a lot of people speaking to her artificially. This is not the same as common schizophrenia. No offense, anybody who's schizophrenic, you are loved, and there's nothing bad about what your disease is, but it's different. This is a different type of thing. This is a way of artificially coming inside of someone else's mind, and the military does this, and it's basically intelligence agencies, and they can play a part. And they can pretend to be a religious figure, they can pretend to be whatever, a friend from your past. They have, I said, extensive brain mapping technology, and one of the things that they did in my brain was create a remote control panel, or also I call them brain buttons, because a lot of the ways that they would speak to me imagine buttons in your brain. Your brain is mapped. So let's map a button that says go, and map another button that says store, and another button that says now. Your entire English language and everything that you are, and also emotional states, can be mapped according to buttons. And this is what they actually did for Cheeky too. And then they can talk to you by just hitting your brain buttons. And your brain buttons are located not only in your physical body being structure, but also, I call it the lower astral. And that's the term that I will use for right now. So the alternate dimension reality. Where does 5G reside? The 5D, fifth dimension, that is run by 5G. Where does it reside? I call it the astral or lower astral realm, which is actually a dream reality. And someone is saying 4D. 4D is similar to that. So you guys have to first of all understand, in terms of impeccable language, the third dimension is the physical body structure that we're in, but the fourth dimension is time, the fifth dimension is a waveform. You don't live in a body structure in a waveform. So please be strong about that. But they call it 5D, and it's supposed to be the fifth dimension, like the age of Aquarius. You understand? You all have been played hard by the military, and all of this is also regarding different factions of aliens. Some friendly, some non-friendly, some complete effers. Horrible. I've had horrible experience with these effers. I'm an alien too. I'm a good one. I'm very different than all of them. And you just have to understand that there's a whole variety of factions. If you find that you're interacting with a lot of aliens that seem to be highly anthropomorphic, meaning human shaped, do you know what I mean? Like if they maybe just look like a human, but just think this. You know how on Star Trek, old Star Trek, sometimes they would say, oh, this is an alien, but they just paint somebody's face green and attach an antenna. Like, that's not what aliens really look like. They just don't have a very good costume budget. Now you start to understand, in your imagination, or in your dream world, if you start to interact with beings that simply look kind of different from humans, but are still kind of like human, like a Yoda, a gremlin, whatever. There's tons of movies about this. Not really interacting with the real species out there. Real alien species are sometimes completely non-anthropomorphic. What we're talking about on the lower astral is the realm of anthropomorphic self-projection, and it is actually the afterlife. What we're talking about with 5D is afterlife. That is technological and held in a technological container. And you are not free in this after existence. It's an underworld, it's a hell realm, and your consciousness becomes a battery at the convenience of a larger being. This is what they wanted me to do and to become. They didn't want me just to become a battery. I definitely acted as a battery when I have been connected to them, but they actually wanted me to become like their CPU, their central processing unit, because I have a really active imagination. I have a ton of processing power, as you can tell by my capacity to connect to the sun, and they wanted me to be their processor and create realities for them and uphold their reality for them. And that they have been not just asking me politely, but really trying to force me to do it. And I have been politely refusing, and then I have been strongly refusing, and then I've been fighting with everything I have against them, because I absolutely do not want to do it. And I don't want to let go of this body, because my body has special genetic behavior that is not exemplified by the clones or rays or lower emanations of what I am. So if you just took a culture of me and grew it in a not in life in vivo, but in vitro, and the vitro does not mean a petri dish. They have incredibly sophisticated tanks for being able to grow this, and that body being comes out of that tank. It's not the same as me. It doesn't have the same level of intelligence and creativity, and you must all understand this. If you have the capacity to make a choice, the choice is not being made for you. Choose not to become a clone. choose and resist as much as you possibly can, because that clone does not have the same divine connection and creativity connection to what we would call life force, or the source of what emanated you, what made you, where did your consciousness come from? That special place, that special thing, the clone does not have the same level of connection to that special thing that you do. It's a container, and the way that they use clones are basically as disposables. And here's another thing that they do. So they have cloned my body in an incredibly abusive way. When I say abusive, I mean like exploitive, wrong, crossing boundaries, is clearly without my permission. And they have made it into a type of inhalable food. You know, I was calling it corpse food because it's made from my corpse, but we could come up with whatever type of word you want to call it. But yeah, it is inhaled. It is a food that is inhaled. Now, this is very, very different than being a true breatharian. I tell you this so that you are protected if someone comes along to you and says, hi, why don't you come to 5D? All you have to do is leave your earthly life behind. Your physical body will die, but you'll come over to 5D. You'll have a brand new clone body, and you will be sustained there by breathing in this magical substance that will sustain you and organize your mind, and you can do it instead of food. That was a big part of the agenda, that they wanted me to no longer eat food in the physical reality. And this is different than becoming a real breatharian. Like there's a real thing when you achieve a yogic transformation or a Christ consciousness transformation, and you become able to sustain yourself entirely through breathing in into this part of your body, and also through connecting with the real sun and stars and achieving light into there. And it is not a boring activity at all. It is very nourishing. The challenge is we are so technologically hemmed in, space fence and Wi-Fi and 5G crapola, poisonous environment for frequency beings. I'm a frequency being, and being here is very difficult for me. It's why I vibrate all the time in order to get Flying Rainbow Lasagna. But you must understand that you probably have this capacity within you, but if you try to practice it here, it might be incredibly difficult because you are in a frequency poison world. This is a jail. You gotta understand, guys, the people that I'm talking to out here. Like, you're the real people, the real citizens. There are, of course, elite layers of people that are treated differently than you, and they piss and shit all over you. I'm just telling you this. We'll get to the Galactic Alliance. Those are a group of beings, technology using space races, who are empowered to piss and shit all over you. They are the cosmic bullies, and they basically, if you have telepathy or if you have a third eye, they will punch you over and over in your third eye, and they will try to make it so that you can't think, you can't breathe, you can't do anything. So again, I'm a POW. I have been in a POW camp. Cheeky's a POW. You guys are also all in a POW camp. And you have to know this. And you have to stay strong and keep fighting, because you're in a war. And the war is ongoing right now. And it is a battle for your freedom and for your consciousness. And also, do not despair, because there are, as I said, very many positive consciousnesses out there who are true warriors of freedom and who do fight for freedom. But what I'm talking about are my experiences with very, very negative beings that I would say are thought creations, creatures or organisms who exist in an afterlife, digital, underground hell realm. And there are hell lords there, and I met many of them, interacted with many of them, not my choice, but it was something I had to do. I've certainly learned from the experience. It was effing disgusting. Why do I say all this? Because a lot of it was sexual, and a lot of it was abuse, and none of it was according to my willpower. So you must all understand that. Oh God. My battery is running down a little bit, so let me do the most important things that I need to speak about. Weaponized clones, or instead of even using that word, forcible cloning and uploading. So what they do is either kill you in this world or zipline your consciousness. That is when you release your willpower, maybe when you're asleep, and it is possible to transfer your consciousness from your original body into the clone body that is prepared, that is in another dimension. And this is how you go to 5D. And they might even make it a seamless transition to be able to get there. So the breathing of the food is breathing of my clones that have broken down, because clone bodies don't always last forever. So your body, that's your basic real body, actually can be quite immortal and last forever if you treat it properly. But around here it's not treated properly, so it can last for maybe 100 years. But if you get a clone body, they don't last for that long, and the brains start to melt down. And then as the clone structure can no longer be viable, sometimes they grind them up and make them into McDonald's. And I am so serious about this. And with my own body being, because I told you they hunted me for my ability, they wanted my genes. So they made a whole bunch of effing clones about me. And then when those clones broke down, or possibly, I don't think that those clones were ever really even functional. Like, I think that they make those clones disabled, like not having a full face, not being fully conscious, not really being able to stand up and fight for themselves. But when those clones break down, they use them for food. And the food is cellular structure, but it is also has some kind of radiation or energy added to it. I've been calling it like plutonium. So it's not a healthy thing to do. And the more that you breathe it in, the more you become addicted to it. It absolutely is poison for natural telepathy. Everything that I'm describing to you, that is the antithesis of natural telepathy, it inhibits your natural telepathy. And that is what they tried to do to me. The most important thing I can say to you is they forcibly implanted me with synthetic telepathy. It was devastating. It was so painful to me, and it wasn't just in my brain. It radiated all down my arm and went through all sorts of different layers of my body. It was soul destroying. It was mind fracturing. It was not only against my willpower, they wanted me to use it for their military. And they tried to portray their military in many different ways. And I never was fooled. I never wanted to be part of it. But they ended up controlling my willpower to such an amazing extent through brain buttons and through other willpower control like sexual torture, that it became very, very difficult for me to resist. And at times I even forgot that I was Aurora. And I started to go back into the persona and feeling state of the woman whose body I am in. That, her name is Debbie, all right? And I don't speak about her very much, but they kept on trying to make me go back to being Debbie and renounce Aurora. And that was what I had to do in order to have them stop torturing me. And I even went to the point of, on my Patreon, having a whole confession where I wrote down what was going on, and that I was finally getting healthy, and I was finally releasing this ridiculous persona called Aurora. And how could I ever have thought that I did Flying Rainbow Lasagna, or that it was a good thing? All of that was my coerced testimony from them. And you also have to understand that China is already assimilated, and the tactics that are used in breaking down POW people in China, they use that here and they use that on me. So it's basically, you don't get a chance to think for yourself, you don't have your own life, they control your life for you and they will tell you what to say and do. And they did that a lot for me over the past 6 months. So if you saw me writing or acting weird or wondered why I wasn't on Facebook or saying anything, this is what has been effing going on with me. And I am literally trying to break free and achieve my own willpower. So this morning, yesterday, I ran from my place where I lived in Ojai because, again, the whole place was wired for harmful poisonous frequency that made it so that it inhibited my natural powers and augmented their synthetic telepathy. Through that synthetic telepathy, they were constantly talking to me, constantly telling me things, and also they had the capacity to beam images into my physical retinas and into my mind's eye. And they did that to the point of brain burn, to the point of burning out my ability to see in many ways. And that was, of course, horrible. And I can regenerate and I can fix and heal these things. So I don't want you guys to be concerned about me because I'm going to be okay. But they almost amputated my natural telepathy. I would say it was like fractured, bruised, and almost gone. And you know how your spine can be like bruised, or you can have a spinal injury and then it doesn't carry the signal? That is what they did to me. And I wasn't sure at a certain point if it was even going to come back, but I regenerated it. So out of this horrible circumstance, I did end up having some very good muscles that came from it. I now have really good regenerative powers, and that is literally what kept me alive. Over the past week or so, they have harmed me and my light body, or my non-physical, or my genetic structure so much that every morning I have to get up and basically remake myself. I wake up every morning with like a ton of damage internally, like they have totally gone to town. They have amputated, I'm talking neural damage in my brain and in my mind and in my astral structure. And I have to literally, not 3D print, but let's say heal, return, recharge, remake myself from the ground up. Every effing morning. It's called blood sport, and is what they do to people like me. Like, I'm a supernatural being, and these are like the town folk with the pitchforks and axes, and they're like, oh look, she's a fairy, let's see what we can do with her, let's see if we can F her up. They would F me up every night, and every morning I would wake up, do my routine of fixing up my face, and wake up fresh as a daisy. And they would all be like, extremely angry about that. I'm laughing at it, I know, but I shouldn't, because it was actually very horrible. And it's not something to laugh at all. And it used an enormous amount of power, willpower, and also energy structure, because every time you do that revivification and healing and return for yourself, it takes a lot out of you. And so that is also something that has been very, very difficult for me to endure, but that is how I endured. All of these things also have been recorded. They've surveilled me in my home and recorded everything. There's no privacy, not even for basic body functions. And like I said, they also used their virtual reality augmentation technology in order to reach into my private parts and do things that would be considered horrendous sexual abuse. And they did the same thing to my dog. I know, it's very difficult even, to talk about these things. These are dark topics, right? Not necessarily that much fun. Yeah. Oh yeah, you know something? I understand that this might sound like a tall tale to very many people. I have no problem with understanding your rational skepticism. However, I assure you that this is the literal truth of what happened to me and not something that is merely fictitious. And indeed, you will also find detractors coming to the chat room that are owned by the very military intelligence beings that I'm blowing up their shit by telling everyone about this, all right? They like to keep this under wraps. They don't like you guys to know about what's going on. They want you to be dumb and stupid. They don't want you to know that you are being literally shot in your third eye by 5G technology that not only comes from satellites, but it comes from your home appliances and even other people. Oh, let's talk about injections. All of the injections that everyone's getting, the stupid effing vaccinations, those do not protect you from any kind of disease. They fill you with nano that connects you to 5G. It is the first part of your virtual upload. Everybody who's vaccinated, you're basically volunteering to become an uploaded effing clone. Lose your effing soul, which is your soul connection, which is your Stradivarius, your genuine varnish of what you truly are. And I am sad and sickened at how many people have been uploaded or are prepared to be uploaded. And like I said, China, the entire population, everybody there is totally uploaded. And you have to understand also that the regime in the United States, why are they flying chemtrails? Do you think that the military doesn't know about that? Of course they know about that, and they allow it, and they know that 5G is a military weapon. They allow it. To think that your own military is protecting you is an unfunny joke. It is a farce. No, they are not protecting you. They are selling you out to the very thing that is invading this planet. You need to know that and protect yourselves from them. Disabuse yourself of the notion that you can trust them, even though they'll say, I am a friendly military person, I am a psychic agent, I'm a whatever. And please don't trust them. That's all I'm trying to say. Because of the way that they treated me, I tell you, don't trust them. They also used a lot of coercive substances to try to make me feel like, oh, maybe they are my friend. Maybe they're really doing this. And because they can speak into your mind and use coercive substances, they can get you to forget yourself and think, well, maybe it is this and maybe it is this. Stay strong. Don't think that way. The most important thing that you can possibly do is to maintain your natural body structure, keep eating physical food, because what they want to do is basically take you out of they want not take you. What they wanted to do to me was have me stop eating real food, become incredibly purged of that, and then do nothing but breathe the corpse food. And it's a type of addiction, and you can be sustained on it, but it is not a good way to be sustained. And the corpse food does not exist in this realm, do you understand? So this body doesn't need to eat, but the astral form that I have breathes in the corpse food, and then it sustains the consciousness that is also this body. There are people on Earth who do that, but mostly they would look down at having a physical body presence. They did not want me to have a physical body presence. They absolutely wanted to kill me. They tried to kill me many, many times. How come I am not actually a dead person? Because I have some augmentations in my body that help me to get back up and be alive despite their best efforts. So part of, I call it the trials. I went through many, many trials, like real profound sufferings that were over the past several months. And I got up after every one, even though I was supposed to die. They kept on saying, just let go, just die. And some of the most amazing premises that they had were that I'm crazy here and I'm in a psychiatric institution and that they're the real world. Never believe this. This is the real world, and they will piss and shit all over it. They'll say, you live in 3D hell. That's what they'll say about the truth of having a physical form. They call it 3D hell. Don't stay in 3D, it's hell. Go to 5D, it's quote unquote heaven. No, 5D is hell. It is an underworld. Being alive is a gift and an opportunity. There's suffering and difficulties, but it is not hell. Hell is the digital world that they want to put you into, where there's literally no love frequency. And part of my great challenge through these trials was that not only they put synthetic telepathy into me, they also co-opted the natural telepathy, where I usually would only hear love signals over the natural telepathy, not over synthetic, but then I started to hear love signals over the synthetic also. And it became incredibly difficult for my inner antenna to know, what do I entrain to? What do I listen to? What is the real truth? Who is the real truth out there? And this is the poisoning of the human mind, or the very great difficulty of how do you tell what's true? Like, how do you tune into God? How do you know what you really want to think and believe in? How do you think your own thoughts amidst all this? Very, very incredibly difficult. What the difference between having brain buttons that are pushed versus natural telepathy is, brain buttons are empty word packages. Go to store. Push, push, push. As opposed to a telepathic information blast is, here's an abstract telepathic information blast that then reaches your mind, hits your language filter, jiggles it, and gives you a sense of a translation that comes through whatever your language filter is, and also a feeling state. And that feeling state contains love and also emotion and also intention. So if something says go to store, you don't know what that means. Does it mean this store? Does it mean this store? Does it mean that? You can say any kind of a word, and it doesn't actually have the meaning and the intention behind it. When you have real telepathy, everything has real meaning and intention behind it, and you are not confused because you absolutely know. It's not like you have to wonder, like, if someone says the word like dog or cheesecake, like, what are they referring to? Like, you know, because there's intention behind it. So all of this is an abuse. It is a way of harming your mind. It is a way of harming your neurology by overstimulating these areas in the brain to the point of death, and not only death of the physical structure of your neuron, but also death of the experiencer. 5G gives you cancer. Flat out, 5G gives you cancer. And a big part of their agenda was also, I'm a quote-unquote gene factory. I make all sorts of new and interesting combos, right? And they recognize that their 5G is going to inevitably give everybody cancer. So what they wanted to do was get the cancer cure from me, because they have no intention of stopping using 5G. They know it causes cancer. I have 5% battery, I'm going to keep going though. They know it causes cancer, they are using it anyway, they're filling your minds with it and filling your planet with it. They want to have a cure for cancer, because everyone's going to get it, because everyone's got it in their effing brains. Do you understand? Horrible, horrible, horrible. These are people who have no ethics, no morals, a complete harmful negative agenda towards humanity and towards life itself. All of this is also anthropocentric, meaning human-centered. Even though I know my dog is a victim of their coercion and torture techniques, mostly this is anthropocentric. Their interest is uploading human consciousness to a dream world, to an afterlife virtual reality, and controlling it there or using it there, having it experience life there, quote unquote, eternally, not that interested in other organisms. So they're coming to harvest Earth, and this is the ongoing harvest. And I've spoken about this many, many times, and now I have experienced it. And flat out, I feel like I am lucky to have escaped to this moment with my mind somewhat intact, with my personal integrity intact, and with my capacity to actually speak and share about this. It was seriously in question, and I think that what they tried to do 2 nights ago was to forcibly remove my consciousness from my body while I slept and destroy my body and put me into a clone body, and I absolutely refused. So I stayed up all night with my dog and absolutely refused to go to sleep. And it's one of the big challenges, is that they do a lot of things to you when you are asleep, when your willpower and capacity to protect yourself goes down. So it's very difficult to maintain that. Most important things. Oh, so they want to know exactly which species. It doesn't matter where they come from, just understand that there are many species who use a profoundly harmful level of technology. Like I say, I'll leave the door open. Like, maybe not everybody in the entire world, if you see them using something that is technological, is a profoundly evil person. But most, as a blanket statement, these guys that use technology are effers, and they are harming you on every level. Quote unquote, the Galactic Alliance, effers all the way. Can't tell you how much scumbags they are. And they are basically the bullies that are running your planet right now. They're the bullies that set up the 5G towers, and when you walk around and you start to have thoughts in your head, they punch you in the brain with the 5G towers. If you dare to think the wrong thought, they will punch you, and it's not just a nice punch, it is meant to destroy your brain matter. Do you understand? They look at you as retards and they keep you retarded. Oh, I'm so sorry to use that word. Pardon me. Developmentally disabled. But that is how they look at you, and that is how they condescend to you, and that is how they keep you in a disabled state. Thank you, and I apologize. Again, I did not mean to be so offensive. And I'm also, you can say, clearly like highly emotional right now, and not as articulate and as self-controlled as it ordinarily would be. Yeah, to say they shoot you in the head is an understatement, but they shoot you with energy, they shoot you with frequency. And targeted individuals know about this for a very long time. Basically on Earth now, the entire population is a targeted individual. When I say that this is a POW camp, things have changed very recently. This is a war. It was a cool war for a little while. Now it is a hot war. It's a very, very open war where they have tons of machinery in the sky, tons of machinery in place on the ground, and you have very little freedom in terms of avoiding this machinery. And it absolutely affects your mind, your capacity to think, and your willpower, and your capacity to do what you want to do. It's incredibly, incredibly difficult. Someone says this is the farm. This is absolutely a farm, and the farmers are here to harvest your consciousness, to bring it into 5D. And 5D, as I said again, is the underworld. So what even happened with all of this? There is a type of technology in my experience, the beings that came into my home, where they can be invisible. They are actual physical embodied presences, but they are made invisible to me, not only through a control of my perception, my eyes, brain, body, and third eye, but also through their own buzzing out of their own signal, being slightly askew from this reality. But they are still absolutely present, like just regular humans. I'm not talking about Superman. They just have a magic tool that makes them, technological tool that makes them able to walk around invisibly in your home. Please understand this. Please understand that this is a very real thing, that if you might think that you are alone in your home, but you can have these guys portal in and walk around invisibly, do things to you, to your environment. They did, I should say not to you. What they did to me was portal into my home, walk around invisibly, even took over rooms in my home as their home base and their offices, and do things to my dog and to me. And that I'm lucky to have maintained myself and escaped with my dog, and that now I cannot go back to my home. Like, it is very, very clear to me that the infrastructure there is so trashed, is so full of their ability to reach in and harm me. I tried to clear it out. I tried to put up portal, anti-portal devices. I tried to clear all these things. I called a shaman. None of that worked. Ha ha ha. And the entire town that I lived in is really weaponized against me, or let's say wired, or let's say frequency created, so that it is very, very difficult for me to be there. And I decided that I just needed to drive away. And as I left and as I came to a different place, like, it is definitely much more easy for me to think my own thoughts, have my own willpower, and make my own choices. What their great thing is that they wanted to like overrule my own willpower and be like, yeah, I'll work for the military. I don't want to work for the military. You guys know me. I'm Aurora. Like, I'm a freedom fighter. I'm an individualist. I have no interest in joining the military and the whole male military, I would say, structure that I do not agree with or want to be a part of. I've become very violent, I will tell you. Not physically, but in terms of psychic behavior. I used to be very much more about equanimity and communication and the things that are about the place where I come from, as a consciousness, which I'm smiling, it's a much more civilized galactic level of society. But in dealing with these pendejos, I have had to learn to become as much of a pendejo as them in order to stand up to them. And so, yeah, I became incredibly hyper-violent in my mind, and I fought many, many mind battles with them, not necessarily against them, alongside of them, but here's what you need to know. None of that was volitional to me. I was coerced, I was held as a prisoner, and in many, many of these battles, I was not only blind, but I was insensate, meaning I couldn't hear, I didn't have telepathy. So I did the whole entire thing on what you would call intuition. Like, you can imagine, one of those movies where there's a blind swordsman and he's perfect and he gets everyone, but he just doesn't have eyesight. It's like that. That was what I was like. I didn't know who I was fighting. I had to fight for my life. If I didn't do it, I would have died. And every time, I think I ended up fighting well against the people that were actually trying to harm me. Like, I think that I actually did a good job of not fighting for the people that were co-opting me, but fighting against everyone that was trying to harm me. Because I was attacked by the United States Navy, and I fought against them. And later they said, you are dumb because you attacked the Navy. I'm like, no, those guys were gonna attack me. Like, I can sense their energy signature, and going just on my intuition, I knew that I had to attack them back. That's it. And again, I would not describe myself as a mind-violent person. Hey, Cheeky, where you going, girl? I would not describe myself as a mind-violent person. Cheeky, where are you? Hey, Cheeky, where are you? Where did my dog go? Cheeky. Cheeky, you come here. Come here, get down here. Oh my goodness. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. Well, apparently I have to move. Hold on a second. My dog is walking over here. Can't believe she's doing this. She just decided to walk somewhere else. Maybe it's time to go. Okay, hold on a second. Wow, so yeah, I wouldn't consider myself a mind-violent person, but I have become hyper-violent as a result, and it has absolutely saved my life. Oh, Cheeky came back. Cheeky girl, I'm not sure where you're going, but I was going to follow you. Yeah, I only have a little bit of battery power left, so let me just keep going with this. Yeah, that's my cosmic defense. Like, I don't want anyone to think that I got co-opted, that I changed, that I'm evil, that I worked for the other team or anything like that. I literally have been held as a POW. First they did the coercion, mind breaking through severe pain. I think I wrote about the hallways of infinite pain that was done. One of the things that they did when they implanted synthetic telepathy, I told you, went all up and down my arm. It felt like I had like a horribly broken arm, like every broken into a million pieces. And then I was in all these astral hospitals where they administered all of these horrible drugs and medical treatments that of course affected my physical body here. So it took many months to recover from that, and all of that was about what was going on in my brain and in the parallel bodies of my clones. So my brain has been severely injured, but I have developed capacities to heal, so that's okay. I'll be able to do that. Yeah, this is all very, I know, very, very difficult stuff. And, I haven't been teaching my class. I haven't been doing my usual videos. I haven't been doing my usual music. I have not been doing very much of my usual artwork. Oh, what you guys need to know is they thought that my mind was too loud. They're like, we hate your mind, we hate your music, we hate your voice, you're way too loud. Because, I'm always like doing Flying Rainbow Lasagna and singing and doing all of those types of things. They effing hated it. And so the terms of my imprisonment were that I was not allowed to do my dance. I was not allowed to even speak with my voice. I was not allowed to sing. I was not allowed to play and make my music. So you guys gotta understand that those things are the most devastating to them, and that the frequencies that I emit as Flying Rainbow Lasagna, something going overhead here, woo, all right, the frequencies that I emit as Flying Rainbow Lasagna are also devastating to them. That those are the things that they wanted me to stop doing. That it was considered, for me as a POW, my house is their prison. Do you understand? The military owns my house, and I was their prisoner. And they owned me for many years, but I thought that I had more levels of freedom than I actually did, and they came to collect. And a big part of this is also astral rape, and the sense that they thought that they owned me and owned my sexuality. Let me also defend myself clearly that whatever was done was non-consensual, was never trade or barter. I would never commodify my sexuality. I would never allow them to do these horrible, disgusting practices to me. Basically, it's Pizzagate stuff, you understand, but whatever. Don't even want to talk about it. It's just horrible stuff. But they would try to say, oh, that it was somehow a commodification, like that was what I did for the terms of living in my house. No, I actually paid my real rent. I actually paid my real bills. And that for them to conflate that and to say that they somehow owned me as a I was like, whatever, an astral sex slave, not a prostitute, not a participant, and was forced to do a lot of things that are really, wrong, that feel whatever, disgusting, and that's not who I am. And so never listen to any slander. Never think that I did work for them. They'll call it chakra work. Never think that I did chakra work for them. I never worked for them. Do you understand that? And there are others who are treated like me too. So just understand it's a whole network of abuse, and it's very disgusting, and it's the commodification of that energy. And that actually went on for 18 years. Actually, not just the most recent years. Actually went on for many, many years. It was something that happens in dreams, where that energy is taken from a person like me in dreams or in the astral realm, and is largely against my willpower. And they also have buttons in your mind that they can make you use to go to sleep. Just like they can press buttons to make you go to store, they have buttons in your mind that they can press to make you go to sleep. And when you press those buttons, the person falls asleep, and then you get astrally raped. And And then they say, yeah, thank you very much, that was very nice. And you get to go on with your day. It's effing horrible, it's just disgusting. And a lot of this also has to do with very harmful, negative, abusive extraterrestrials. That a lot of them are very, very bad. They are not fun, good, benevolent, whatever, phone home terrestrials. They are horrible, horrible creatures. And that they will do shit like that to you too. Yeah, so you gotta watch out for the guys that look like that, all right? I'm just telling you. Yeah. How to avoid it. This is very, very challenging because basically right now there are many people. I don't even know how to avoid it. I don't have any answers for you guys, all right? I don't have answers for you. All I have is the warning that this is going on. And, you know, I'm running out of battery power. I will come back and make more videos, but the biggest thing that I need to do is protect myself by being able to tell you guys what has been going on and why have I not been able to speak about it? Like, why didn't I get on the computer right away and be like, hey guys, like, they broke my mind, like, this thing is happening. Like, I couldn't do that. You have to understand, this is the first real time that I've had to break away, and that the thing that they kept on trying to, like, get me to not only do horrible sex work for them, which I refused always, but they really wanted stuff from my mind. They really wanted me to use my ability for them, and I always kept saying, no, it's not something that I want to exploit, it's not something I want to sell. You get it? Like, I don't Flying Rainbow Lasagna for money. To me, that's as indignant and wrong morally as giving up your sex for money. I don't do that. And they didn't like that. And they're like, what? Like, we don't respect that. And then they try to take it forcibly. So they still have been trying to coerce me and get me to work for them. Even today, even this morning. It's why I ran. It's why I've been fighting against all this. Oh, and you guys need to know about Hellivision, the virtual reality show that is shown in hell. And it's subscription only, but some people in the physical embodiment here do watch it. And it's absolutely X-ray vision of your body, being, and everything you're going through, but it's also blood sport and also disgusting sexual practices, where people that live in hell and people who are demons watch the living, the embodied in their life. So you have to understand, my life was a total surveillance state where I was an unwitting participant in a reality TV show that is called Hellivision, where I was used for, you know, horrible sexual purposes and also sometimes for blood sport, and that they sell subscriptions or sell tapes of this, get a lot of money from it. I do not benefit from it at all, but that they benefit from it greatly. And it was very disgusting to be a part of, and I would never want anyone to see, you know, the degradations of that. It's not entertainment, it is something horrible. But you have to understand that that goes on, and that that's also one of the ways that they use this virtual reality technology. So it's not just that they might use it to say, implant buttons in your brain or your dog's brain. No, no, no. They use it as an X-ray technology to watch you in your life all the time, or they watched me in my life all the time, and then they were able to be entertained by it. They are entertained by the most disgusting and wrong things, and that's what they do. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I'm not reading those comments right now. But yeah, Hellivision, a very real thing. And what you need to know about Hellivision is that it runs on 5G. And 5G is the infrastructure that we've got going around here. So how can they possibly have an X-ray vision of me? I have breathed in nano, I have a false architecture inside of me, and I live in a 5G prison. And they use that in order to see me move my arms and legs, see what's going on internally in my body. I need to drink of water. And to even beam stuff back and try to control me. It's a two-way operation. They both perceive my body, like what my body is doing, and also try to emanate into my body and what it is doing. And that is Hellivision. And there are all sorts of games that happen on Hellivision, all sorts of shows. People's lives are considered a show. This is totally blowing up their shit. Yeah, they don't want you to know about this at all. This is very important for you to know. And there are contestants in hell. You guys might not all know it, but many of you are contestants in hell. And the daily struggles that you go through are the fodder for their entertainment, and sometimes they will even throw extra shit at you in order to be extra entertained. And then, yeah, if they get a good show, then you get to keep going on their reality show, which is basically you get to keep being alive and keep being tortured by them, you know? And they do have a lot of control over your experience in reality and over levels of reality. But none of this belies the basic fact that you are still in a real bio bodysuit. If you're not a cloned person that I'm speaking to, I'll say this, I'm still an alive person in my original bio bodysuit that was born 47 years ago. Cheeky is still an alive dog that is from her original body.